Or Sandman if I'm in standard, the tritone being there between the root and the blues note here, up there. But same idea, that's where it's getting that kind of tension from, right? Alright guys, Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. What I've got for you today is a kind of reaction analysis of Loudwire's the greatest 20 metal riffs of all time. The aim here isn't necessarily to teach the riffs, but basically to look at what components they might all have in common and kind of make a how to make your own greatest riff kind of recipe. My theory here is that there'll be some kind of tropes, techniques, and just a kind of thread of continuity running through them. If there's not, then this video is going to be totally scuppered. But I'm going to guess that there is, that's my hypothesis. Let's prove or disprove it. See what we can take from each riff, see what they have in common, and hopefully you can make stuff of your own. If you end up doing it using the kind of checklist, then fire them down in the comments because that'd be cool to check out. Before we crack into it, obviously, if you want to leave a comment, a like, subscribe, all the lovely algorithm feeding stuff, that's fantastic. If you don't, then fair enough. Okay, I've set the scene. I've probably gone on for far too long, so let's see what they've got in store for us. Okay, Iron Maiden, Fear the Dark classic. I would have picked the main riff, the kind of driven one over this. I think this one's in D minor. Kind of going up. Kind of going up a D minor. Very clean tone, wasn't expecting quite a mellow riff. Clean tone from System of a Down as well. Here it's down tuned. So clean tone, we've got down tuned. Maiden in a standard, bit of a conflict there. Arpeggiating a chord. That's making it to their list. So more down tuning. Heavy tone this time, so contrasting entirely from our clean tone of before. I'm gonna say this is much more of a stomping riff than the previous two. I think this is up the ante a bit here. So another minor Aeolian, natural minor riff in E minor this time. So minor keys, more driven sound. Again, an Aeolian riff using power chords. So overdriven sound, Aeolian, I say power chords. Okay, so this is leaning more into blues. I would have called this like more of a classic rock riff. I have covered this one before. If you want to learn how to do it, you can get it with the eye up there. But it's using an open string as a pedal. This also uses an open string as a pedal to some extent, that E. Lots of hammers on, lots of pull-offs. I think this is E minor, definitely still. A minor this one, and this is a riff I've covered, classic Breaking the Law. You can get how to play it with the eye up there. So definitely Aeolian is winning here as a mode. E minor this one, I believe. They're playing it in E flat here by the sounds of it. Another classic riff. This is one I've covered as well, which is good. You can get it with the eye up there. So this one's using the blues note. We've not really had that yet. When it goes down to the B flat. But again, it's kind of a minor tonality, so I don't think we'll see any major in here. I think minor has won the day for metal. So a bit like Enter Sandman, incredibly simple. You could say this is probably an E Phrygian, so that's probably the first prominent E Phrygian riff. More Sabbath, okay. Using the tritone, the Devil's Interval. So this is kind of similar to Enter Sandman, where it's using the blues note because it's got that move between it. Going from 1 to kind of up to the flat 5. Of course, here we are in a different key. Enter Sandman if I'm in standard, the tritone being there between the root and the blues note here, up there. But same idea, that's where it's getting that kind of tension from, right? E minor, some classic Maiden. I've covered the whole Trooper song actually, so you can find out how to learn that with the eye up there. But again, this is an Aeolian thing. We've basically got an E, D to E minor, down to C major. So the 4 chord, 5s, 5, 6, right? Harmonizing, that's the first example of that we've had. Galloping in the last two riffs. Okay, building a bigger list now. Still Aeolian, still heavily driven. Using a lot of the 4 chord, 6 chord and the 5. So a bit of chromaticisms, but still minor sounding. Again, pedaling using the open string to riff around. These cool accents as well, the bam bam bam. So interesting one, rather than using power chords, he's using inverted power chords or 4th dyads, you can think of it that way. Chromatic riff as well, but still minor tonality, right? And this is like a textbook example of an Aeolian riff. If you want some Randy Rhoads signature licks, you can get them with the eye up there. I wrote down 3 or 4 of his just great licks. But again, the pedal point they had. Using that open string to kind of chug on. A harmony, but this time an out of key harmony to make it sound more dissonant, more evil, compared to the Trooper, which was in key, just kind of using 6th, I think they're using that mainly. Kind of 3rd, but below the octave. You can think of that as a gallop as well, the do-it. So, very minor. I think this might even count as a chromatic riff, depending on if you want to think of it as being an Aeolian or Dorian, because it's probably an Aeolian riff with a slight outnote in it. Okay, let's try and compile that all together into one hopefully somewhat usable list. So while there was a clean tone on the first 2, the rest were all using a kind of heavily distorted, saturated tone. So I'm going to say that in terms of tone. In terms of tonality, since I'm kind of, it's a similar word, minor, right? So probably an Aeolian or possibly a Phrygian basis, but don't be afraid to use the chromatics within that kind of framework as well. What I stumbled onto there was the kind of pedal, so I'm coming back to that note all the time. And ideally you want your pedal to be what the tonal center is, the main kind of note, so it lets us know we're in a minor key even if there's these weird kind of spicy chromatics going on. You might want to consider down tuning for that kind of heavier, thicker sound, which is probably quite prominent throughout that list with the likes of Sabbath and Korn. Consider adding in a harmony, so you could do the typical kind of Maiden thing. So I'm going to try and harmonise with myself through the powers of video editing. Let's go for it. Cool, and like I said, if we wanted something more dissonant, we could go for a kind of atonal harmony, so let's just go for one of those as well. So whether you want to sound more triumphant or if you want to sound a bit more dark. And to be fair, even harmonising something like static 4ths or 5ths, well, it still could be in key, is going to sound edgier than 3rds or 6ths. Another way of getting a bit of edge is to use that tritone, that interval. So let's wing something and see what comes out. So on that note, things like the kind of chugs, quick kind of bursts, or even a gallop, all worthwhile checking out. Final thing I'll include here is accenting something, so getting the drums and bass to do what your guitar is doing as well, even if it's something simple. Getting everything to accent those notes where you hit, that's going to make it bigger too. So as suspected, there were some common threads between there, but also some contradictions. Let me know in the comments if this sort of video is useful for you in your own kind of riff writing and guitar stuff. Feel free to check out those if you want more guitar and reaction things. Hit subscribe. If you like what I do here and want to show support, hit on my patreon.com/jbfmusic. But take it easy guys, and have a good one.